What are you crocheting right now?
I've got another beanie in the work. I pretty much only do beanies now.
By beanies, do you mean toques?
Yeah, sorry.
You're on Canadian cycling.
I get corrected both times. Yeah, I've been corrected so many times for saying toque that, yeah, beanies have it. Yes, I mean toque.
Welcome to the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast. I'm Matthew Pioro. I'm joined by Matt Hansen. Welcome, Matt.
Aloha.
Hello. And James Bunga. Welcome back.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
In this episode, the feature interview is with Elly Hoskin. She is the Enduro World Champion. I speak with her about her meticulous race prep, enduro racing strategies, crocheting, and what lies ahead for the Squamish rider who had a breakout 2025 season. Regular listeners, you know we love all forms of cycling here, and we cover it all in depth. You see that in the magazine, which our annual buyer's guide is rolling out now. It's a rite of spring. Get your copy in glorious print or digitally with a subscription to our members area. It's handcrafted cycling coverage, 100% slop-free. But as we do in print and online, here on the pod, we cover all kinds of cycling in all its forms and from all kinds of angles. In this episode, on the road side, we'll preview the first monument of the year, Milan-San Remo and San Remo Donne. Then we'll switch to Enduro with an in-depth interview with Elly Hoskin. In a sense, it's a pairing that works. The men's MSR is one of the longest events in the pro calendar, and Enduro is a multi-stage format of mountain bike racing. Both are about endurance at the highest levels. So if you've tuned in for just the Hoskin interview, I do encourage you to stick around, but the timestamp for that chat is in the show notes. This episode of the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast is supported by MS Bike. I hope you've been able to get outside by now to do some riding. If not, stay strong, indoor trainer riders. Stay strong. Wherever you're pedaling, you should gear that work toward a good cause. MS Bike has 11 rides across the country. These are top-notch, fully supported events. The first ones are in June in Alberta. The last one is in Waskesiu, Saskatchewan. That's in September. There are also rides in British Columbia, Manitoba, Ontario, and Nova Scotia. No matter which one you choose, there is still plenty of time to prepare. If you need some training tips, there are 2-month and 3-month plans for you on the Canadian Cycling Magazine website. Check the show notes for links. Remember, through an MS Bike event, you raise funds which will go to help MS research and services. Did you know that 60% of those diagnosed with MS are between 20 and 49? Give your riding some focus and some purpose. Head to msbike.ca, register, and start fundraising. Let's talk about Milano-San Remo. It's one of my favorite races. Maybe we should mention, this is where we mention, is Milano-San Remo exciting yet? One of our favorite websites that we like to hit refresh on during the race. I checked it a few days ago. It said no, just in case you're wondering.
I would love to know who owns that URL. For sure, it's probably, if it's some cycling website out there, one of our competitors / rivals / friends, and they're making mad clicks on that, that'll bother me.
I punched in the who is lookup and it did not reveal much. So I love the mystery behind it. It's just a beautiful piece of zen on the interwebs. It's a wonderful thing to also keep an eye on during the race, especially during the slow moments, which are most of them. And then you just get this explosion of activity and tension in the last, let's say, 30 kilometers.
Well, they're fast moments. They're just, nothing's happening. They're still going 50K an hour, just that nothing's actually going away.
Yes, it's a beautiful paradox. So the course this year, let's start with the men's course. It is a bit longer than last year's. The course always seems to fluctuate between 280. It's gone as high as 305 kilometers. This year, it's 298. It starts in Pavia. It doesn't start in Milan. And there's a bit of a loop. It's been slightly modified near the early kilometers. And that's what gets us a little more distance than last year's 289 clicks. And then it gets down to the coast, and we have the Tre Capi and then the Cipressa and the Poggio.
Or we could call it the Poggio maybe.
Oh, the Poggio. Well, we'll see. Because, and I know you guys recall last year's race, the attack from Pogačar came on the Cipressa. He seemed actually out of position. Tim Wellens was pulling, and today Pogačar was a few riders back. Jonathan Narvaez had to pull Poggi up. And I wonder if that was the mistake. I wonder if that was a costly move because, as you recall, Pog did not win. The win went to Mathieu van der Poel. It was his second. And then Filippo Ganna was there in second.
And I know that Fabio Baldato from UAE says that that they're going to do it again. No secrets. They're going to do it again this year because, the Cipressa is longer. It's 5.5 or so. And the Poggio is 3 and change, but it's a little steeper. But he basically has given away their trade secrets. Yep, that's where we're going to go.
I mean, that's very on brand. Pogačar always tells you, or he has told you exactly where he's going to attack in Strade Bianche. But maybe this is the time that they don't do as exactly as they say. I don't know. I watched back one of my favorite editions, the 2018, where Vincenzo Nibali attacked on the Poggio, and it was exciting. That's one of my favorites because he manages to hold it just to the line. I don't know. Does UAE want to take a page out of 2018? Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, Matej Mohoric is on the start list. I think going back and thinking about one of my favorite editions is when he won, and famously, of course, he used a dropper post on a road bike. And, I wonder if this time he's got another little bit of tech tip to show us, something he's going to pull out, something we've never seen before. So that's something to look out for.
He actually was instrumental in that Vincenzo Nibali win in 2018, Matej Mohoric, and helped set up the Italian champ there.
I got to say, I think in the women's race, it'd be cool to see someone like Sarah Van Dam pull something off on the Via Roma. Like she's got that kick, if she can hang on.
Let's get to the women's in just a second. I want to just finish up with the men's, and maybe we should run through the start list, which is a little sparse right now. We're recording early. Let's look at Alpecin Premier Tech. Familiar names here. Mathieu van der Poel, 2-time winner. Jasper Philipsen, 1-time winner. Last year, he wasn't in the best form because of a crash he sustained in a race a few days before. I think it was at Nochiera Corse. This year, he had some bad luck at Tirreno Adriatico, so we'll see what kind of fitness Philipsen has for Milan-San Remo.
Of course, Mathieu van der Poel is always a big contender, and he's been looking quite strong at the early season racing at Tirreno Adriatico. But another person, a surprise pick, I think, could be Matteo Jorgensen, who also has been looking quite strong. In some cases, stronger than Wout van Aert, presumably the rider he is going to be supporting.
I wonder still, though, like as good as Jorgensen is, it's still my money's on Wout for the finish there because he's just obviously Jorgensen's riding fantastic, but I still think that quick little finish there. I mean, Wout's been up there before, and I personally would like to see the guy take a big win because he's again this season. It just seems like he's having some close finishes, but some bad luck. So my money's on Van Aert if he does something. But I'm happy to see either.
While I agree that Jorgensen is looking very strong. He's been racing so well in the early season races. I'm thinking Matthew Brennan. He's beaten Jonathan Milan in a sprint. He is, one of the young phenoms that everybody's just going cuckoo bananas over. He doesn't have the experience, but he has such a kick at the end.
They could have a three-pronged thing there. They could have Jorgensen maybe going for something and also Wout hanging on, or Brennan. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do if it gets to the finish with a small group. Who they would put their money on, Wout or Brennan?
They have a lot of firepower and a lot of support, also with Christophe Laporte there. With that mix, I think they present a serious challenge to Team UAE Emirates.
I think looking at what UAE is bringing to Milan-San Remo, of course, they've got a super, super strong team. Of course, Pogačar is there, but they also have riders like Isaac Del Toro who have been coming away with good results of their own. And I wonder at what point do riders like Del Toro, start thinking about their own results? Of course, he's there to support Pogačar, but he's proven that he is more than capable of getting his own wins as well.
I still think that Del Toro is going to be the final lead-out man for Pogačar. I don't think they will ever start thinking about themselves until Pogačar is retired. I could see him being the final guy, like what Wellens did, kind of thing, up the Cipressa or whatever he goes. I think.
I agree. I think this team, this squad is here for Pogačar, and as good as Isaac Del Toro is doing right now, I think he's on support duty. I agree with you, Matt. Probably he'll be one of the last guys. There's Jan Christian, who has been doing so much work, sometimes mysteriously pulling when he shouldn't be, but he's super strong at the moment. And Brandon McNulty, he owes Pogačar. He owes him from Montreal.
Pay up, McNulty.
So I think the three strongest squads are the ones we've just mentioned: Alpecin Premier Tech, Team Visma Lisa Bike, and UAE Team Emirates XRG. I often forget the XRG. But some riders I'm excited to see. I definitely want to see how Giulio Pellizzari does. He was riding super well at Tirreno Adriatico. He's more the GC type of rider, but that, as we know, just because you're a GC type rider, that does not count you out of Milano-San Remo. I don't know. Maybe he's a top 10. He could be exciting to watch in the finale. I honestly don't know what he's going to do or how this is going to play out for him.
What I would love to see at Milano-San Remo, just looking at the individual riders here who would be fun, Guillaume Alaphilippe is on the start list, and I feel like you can never really count him out. And I think he's just such a fun rider to watch, but I don't know. I feel like he's still got something left in him. It'd be really exciting to see if he could try a couple things. Same thing with Pidcock as well. Pidcock on the start list, fantastic descender. He as well has been sort of mixing it up with the classics, with the big guys, and has yet to, sort of pull off a big result this year, but I think it's still totally within reach for him.
If Ganna's there, which she is, remember he hung on for dear life with those two guys, Van der Poel and Pogačar, and I mean, maybe this is a year that he hangs on and makes a move. So you can never discount him.
For sure. It's good to mention him because he was so active in the finale last year. And he has Michał Kwiatkowski, a former winner. He's supposed to line up. So, there's a good team there that's growing. And Axel Laurence is on the line. And we'll see how Ineos Grenadiers fills out the rest of that squad closer to the race. 2025 was the return, or it's the latest incarnation, let's say, of the women's Milan-San Remo, or the San Remo Donne. It did not really have a surprise winner. Lorena Wiebes, one of the best sprinters in the world, got teed up perfectly. It wasn't a foregone conclusion, though, because if you'll remember, Elisa Longo Borghini attacked with about 2 kilometers to go, and then it was up to Wiebes' teammate Lotte Kopecky to haul the group behind back up to ELB, and there was a big sprint at the end. Marianne Vos finished second. Noemi Rug was third after getting bounced a bit by Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, who got relegated from 4th to 12th. It was a great finish. It was a great return of the women's race. Interestingly, the race got strung out on the descent of the Cipressa, and then things gathered together after that before the Poggio, where we saw Puck Pieterse rip an aggressive descent. That was also fun to watch. My quibble with the women's race, what is it? Do you know what it is? I've complained about this before.
It's not long enough.
It's not long enough. If you are going to make a women's Milan-San Remo, the whole thing about Milan-San Remo is, or one of the key features is the distance. The course remains the same, 156 kilometers for the women. The Tour of Flanders is longer this year. The Women's Tour of Flanders is 164 kilometers. So I think you have to be true to the nature of the race. I'm not saying it has to be the same distance as the men's. I'm sure there's all kinds of challenges with running 2 300-kilometer races in a day, but the character has to match a little more closely. However, I'm still very much looking forward to this second edition of the women's Milan-San Remo. Matt, what are you looking out for?
Well, I would say last year, Sarah Van Dam she was just in the bunch sprint, shall we say. She finished 25th. But she's leveled up this year, and I'm rooting for her in the finish. If she can just hang on to the front group, I could see something cool happening with her, because her kick is even better than it was last year. And she got a stronger team with Visma. So that'd be, of course, like Visma's probably, as we said, not finalized yet, the start list, but no matter what, it's going to be stacked because they have such a bunch of leaders in that team. But yeah, I think if Van Dam can hang on, it'd be pretty cool to see her go for something on the Via Roma.
Yeah, we're definitely hoping to see her there. And Sarah Van Dam has had a strong season. She's had some really good finishes, a bit of bad luck in Australia, but yeah, definitely a rider to watch.
And I'm sure we'll see, I'm sure because she's the rainbow jersey and also one of the leaders on the EF Education League, we see Magdalena Valliere-Mil, but I don't know, man. I don't know if the course is, I would love to see her attack, obviously, on one of the two climbs. I don't know if it's enough to stay away, but either way, it's cool to see her there.
Yeah, she was there riding support for her teammate Rogue last year, who did very well, finishing third. It may not, Milan-San Remo may not suit Valliere-Mil. It may still be more of a Rogue race, but we'll see. We'll see how those two, or how EF Education Oakley works that race. Again, we're not totally sure who's going to be there, but I do see Rogue's name on the start list.
I'm thinking, again, looking at the start list as of right now, it's not super filled out, but for Canyon SRAM Zonda Crypto, Cassia Niadoma Finney has been getting some good results. Second at Strada Bianca Donne, second at Omloop Newsblad. So I wonder if she is starting, could this be a chance to grab a win at one of the early season races, one of the monuments?
And she does have that kick. Again, I don't know, it's sort of like Magdalena, it's just not hard enough for someone like her, but I think she does have that little extra punch over some of the riders we're talking about. Yeah, it'd be cool to see in that Polish jersey.
I'm going to be honest, though. Unless someone takes a flyer, does something on one of the two final climbs, I see Lorena Wiebes taking a second one. With Lotte Kopecky also there, Blanca Vas on Team SD Works Pro Time.
And I'm sure Vollering will try something as well. But like you said, I think it's not that it's futile. Obviously, you always want to attack, but unless there's this massive lull and people look at each other, I think it's going to come together and it's just going to be the person with the fastest kick, which is why I'm stoked for Van Dam. Hang on there, Van Dam.
We're not biased. We're not biased here at Canadian Cycling Magazine. All right, that takes us to the end of our Milan-San Remo preview. Very excited. I'm very, very excited. And now, let me look ahead to our feature interview with Elly Hoskin. As I mentioned earlier, she had a breakout 2025. She won 2 EDR World Cups, Crankworx, and then got the World Championship win for Enduro. And this is all in her first year as an elite rider. She graduated from the U21 ranks into elite, and she came in with no pressure. And it just seemed to be the right mix for her to find her feet and succeed. We cover a lot in this interview. As I mentioned, strategy, crocheting, actually not really that much in crocheting. But the enduro scene, not only abroad, but here in Canada, of which Hoskin is, let's say, a product. There's a very healthy scene in British Columbia that helped build up this rider. She also had a little bit of help at school with mountain biking, which maybe isn't such a surprise for a rider from Squamish. So here is my interview with Elly Hoskin. Elly Hoskin, welcome to the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast. You're the current Enduro World Champion and Canadian Enduro Champion. Those are two titles you won in September 2025. What does a world and national Enduro champion do in her off-season?
A great question. A lot of skiing. Not as much biking as you think. This is kind of my off time, my rest time. Yeah, it's kind of when I just reset and do the work that makes the rest of the season like as easy as I can make it. Really, yeah, it's working hard, but when training's the kind of the only thing you got to do, it's a pretty easy job. So,
is there crocheting in the mix?
Yes, of course. Yes.
What are you crocheting right now?
I've got another beanie in the work. I pretty much only do beanies now. I have a sweater that's about a third of the way done. That's been sitting for about a year.
By beanies, do you mean toques?
Yeah. Sorry.
You're on Canadian Cycling.
I get corrected both times. Yeah, I've been corrected so many times for saying toque that, beanies have it. Yes, I mean toque.
Okay, so beanies for the international listeners, toques for everyone else.
Exactly.
Now, you're in Squamish. You said you're skiing lots, but are you hitting the trails? Are you doing road rides? What's some of your training looking like?
Yeah, definitely. I'm in the gym a lot in the winter. That's probably my favorite part of training. Still doing lots of big rides, but somewhat unstructured, like go until I run out of snacks or until I don't want to kind of thing. And I'm sure my coach would love if I did some more road riding, but been kind of minimal. And just like big long ski tour days, really good for cross training. I like to run.
I want to get eventually to what's ahead for you this season in 2026. But first, I want to go back to 2025. It was a successful season for you, but I have to say your successes caused quite a bit of frustration for me. Now that may sound harsh, but hear me out.
Okay.
You won the second EDR event in Bielsko-Biała in Poland. That was great. Writer Tara Nolan and I planned a story around that for the magazine. Tara interviewed you, submitted the story, we got it ready, great, ready to go. Then, close to press time, you won Crankworx Whistler Canadian Open Enduro. Okay, Cool. We could sneak that in to the story. Then, right after the magazine went to press, you won another UCI Enduro World Cup in France, in Haute-Savoie. Then, even before the magazine with your story was on newsstands, you won the World Championships. And by the time you won Nationals, I just threw up my hands. So I will add we covered all this online, but and I bring this up not really to share the magazine production timelines, but to remind listeners of your season. My question in all of this is, how do you look back on the arc of your 2025 season? Do you see a string of successes, or do races that you didn't win also have some prominence in your memory?
The races that I didn't win probably, you learn so much more from when you lose. But I think the first race of the season, the first World Cup in Finale Ligure, was probably the most formative race of the year for me. It was, first time we had a 2-day event. So like 2 days of practice into 2 days of racing. And I think even after all of the races on the calendar, that was still the biggest race weekend. And I think possibly the biggest one that we've had since UCI took Enduro. Yeah, and that was my first Elite World Cup. And I think I was having a pretty rough time just with some social stuff going on. And I just kind of came into the race and I was like, wow, I really just want that feeling of like being fast, like just riding fast and like that was all that mattered, because all of a sudden I was like, no one was expecting a result out of me. And I, like, in my head, you always kind of have a number. I was like, okay, maybe I'll make it into A group, which is the top 15 women. And then because of my overall standings from U21, I automatically got shuffled up into A group. So I was like, okay, like, you've already achieved what you wanted kind of on a fluke, but let's see if you can do a top 10 maybe, or a top 10 stage. Like, that would be great. I think I had a few stages in the top 10, and I had like one or two in the top 20, and then I had a stage, I think I got second or third, but I was less than a second off. And over the 2 days, it was like a very visible build through all the stage results, and I was really proud of that. And I was just so stoked that we did like 2 huge days back to back. That kind of really reminded me of, why we do enduro. It's like, if you're not going to win the thing, I at least want to be really friggin' tired at the end of it. So that I was so happy. I was like, okay, I'm shattered. I raced pretty well, highs and lows, but yeah, that race really, it gave me something to like work towards. And it really kind of pointed out, I did all this work over the off season, but this is exactly here's what we need to work on. And then the rest of the season was kind of just me trying to undertake that.
Poland, where you got your first win, is not on the calendar this year.
I know.
Will you miss that course?
Definitely. I think that's one of my favorite venues. Feels a lot like home, just kind of like low grade, high speed, very like hard dirt. People are lovely. Food's amazing. It's had been terrible weather, which I love. And I'm really sad we're not going to go back to that, but hopefully another year.
Now, I understand you almost didn't race in 2025. Why was that?
Yeah, I think now when I look at it, I'm like, that was so silly. But yeah, just kind of after 2 years of doing under 21, pretty like supported, but I was working a lot in the off season to pay to go do those things. And yeah, like, part of me wanted to go back to school and move out, and just felt like I was putting a lot of the rest of life on hold for something that was, it's a passion project or like a hobby at the time, it felt like. And I was like, yeah, like, I feel like I have promise, and like I could take this as far as I wanted to, but at what cost? And I had also got a second surgery on my foot going into the 2025 season. And yeah, I was just feeling kind of the weight of the injury and training, trying to like rehab, train, and then perform for something that, isn't a guarantee. That was just kind of weighing on me a lot. I'm really glad I did, let me tell you. And yeah, definitely no doubts in my mind that I made the right call there.
Yeah, it's definitely, I guess it was like a leap of faith moment, and you're like, I don't know if this is the best move. But yeah, after 2025, it seems it was a good move.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. 2024 season was really tough for me, and I think I spoke to this with Tara, but just kind of a serial injury year, and kind of left me pretty broken. And and it's like, yes, there was some really awesome takeaways from that year, and those things, like, I wouldn't be the kind of athlete I am now if that didn't happen. But it's hard for sure, and it definitely should make you question what you're doing.
You have support from Da Vinci Bikes, Shimano, and Fox, but you develop your own program. You call yourself a pro privateer. What does that support look like at races? And for example, like, what do you have done for you, and what do you have to do for yourself?
Depends on the race. Overseas, like at a World Cup, I have support from Fox and Shimano. They're there to help me with my bike if something breaks. I become quite the mechanic over the years, and I enjoy like being the person to set up my bike, and I can go to them and ask questions and then get them to show me how to do it. Like, I really like the learning part of that as well. So obviously, if I'm in a pinch and I'm like, oh my God, everything's broken, they're there for me. But yeah, I take a lot of like my own setup on. And yeah, like I'm the one driving myself around and cooking for sure. But I have friends that I travel with, and yeah, we kind of have this great little community. It's like, yeah, it's just different every year, and it's kind of I've learned to embrace it. That it's kind of like a little bit of a circus, and you never know what's gonna happen. But I can be as dialed as I can, and yeah, I trust that. There's nothing I haven't handled before.
Does working on your own bike help you as a rider? Like, does it translate into feeling more confident, just really knowing how to dial in the machine for the courses?
I think yes and no. Sometimes, I mean, can be bliss because if you don't know what's wrong, you're pretty resigned to the conclusion that you can't do anything. And sometimes if I'm like, oh, something feels weird, and I'm like, it could be any of these options. Sometimes you just don't know where to start, or you'll do something and it just takes longer because you're trying to eliminate things, and you also get really sensitive to what could feel wrong. But yeah, I think I would way rather know and have to go through all the options. But yeah, it's definitely still a learning process, and I'm no professional mechanic by any means, but I get by. And it's also helped to be working with DaVinci, like the same brand, same bikes over the years, and Fox as well. And Shimano was new last year, but I found like I grew up riding their stuff, and it felt so easy to jump back on.
Your relationship with DaVinci is continuing but evolving. Can you say a bit more about that?
Yeah, I'm really excited. So this year, well, I guess I'll start at the beginning. So in 2023, I rode for them for the first time just through a shop ambassador program here in Squamish. And then I went to my first World Cups in Tasmania, and kind of went up to the team and I was like, can I stay with you? And they were like, sure. So they let me like crash with them. And yeah, I was kind of just following them around all year, and they like slowly took me under their wing. And yeah, and then the following year they disbanded their enduro team, but they were like, we really want to keep you on. Like, what can we do to help? And I was like, this is great. Like, and that's kind of when I started being like kind of piecing together my own program. So, I was getting bikes from them, and then, my suspension was a separate deal through Fox. And then I had my shop deal here, and everything else was like just individually contracted. And so it's a lot to organize, but I learned a lot as well as on like the business side of things. And then this year, they're bringing me onto their movement, which is kind of like I guess like their highest level of support for, it's me, Johan Borelli, Georgia Astle, and Steve Vanderhook, who are like their riders, but they also have like the other main purpose of the movement is they get like bigger brands to sponsor it, which then go into like a community grant, and they distribute funds to, trail societies or like grassroots teams. And we're just basically the face of it. And we all go our different ways. And it's really cool because we're all based here in the Sea to Sky. And yeah, we get to hang out once in a while. And, we've got like a coach, a free rider. I mean, Georgia's like, she's doing Rampage and I'm racing Enduro. And it's really cool because we just connect over, we all ride the same bikes. So, can't be that different.
Now, does it mean any new or different duties for you? New responsibilities?
Probably not. They've taken a few responsibilities off my chest. So, yeah, just by organizing some sponsors that I wouldn't have had. Like, for example, we have Maxima, which I've never even thought about contacting, like a racing oils brand. That's so cool. And now I get to have grease for my bikes, which are desperate. And yeah, stuff like that. So yeah, there's a few little changes. Like I'll be riding for SDG, Maxima, Avis. Yeah, I think those are the only changes.
Now, returning back to racing, tell me about the importance of studying trails. How do you prepare for the descents you face throughout an enduro event?
Oh, that's a great question. I feel like there's a lot of different approaches. I'm pretty meticulous, I'd say. Yeah, I try to ride, first look at the trail, I try to ride it as intuitively as possible. And I only really stop if there's something where I'm like, that felt awful. And I'm like, I should probably go figure that out. Yeah, so that's kind of it. Or if there's like significant line choice, I'll stop and watch a few people go and make my own decision. But yeah, like obviously I use a GoPro and study my footage in the evening. I make notes as well. And yeah, even before we get to the venue, I'll, have a peruse on Trailforks and YouTube and try to just get an idea of like what the dirt's going to look like. Is this in the Alpine? Like, how can I make my practice day as easy as possible before I even get there? I mean, we ride, 6 to 10 tracks over a weekend, and you're not going to know every rock and route, but I like to try. And yeah, or at least try to remember sections so I can, be like, okay, you're like 3/4 of the way down. You should probably kind of dump some energy now, or like, stuff like that.
It's a lot of study.
It's a lot. I have a very thick notebook that I travel with.
A paper notebook.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Oh, look at that. It seems that's not just random scribbles. You have like subheadings or whatever. You have bullet points. Look at that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
In the magazine article I mentioned earlier, you say that with enduro racing, there's a lot of strategy involved. We talked about the preparation, but can you add any more about strategy that goes into the racing?
Yeah, I think like Worlds is a really great example of kind of playing to my strengths a bit. There was some really good variety of stages, specifically, some flat kind of flowy trails that were like really, the mud was awful. So it was like you couldn't carry speed. And then we had some like a old downhill track. And then we had like, a few 10+ minute stages and some also really short ones. I knew some of those weren't going to play to my strengths. And so it was very motivating on the ones that I knew were to, do as much damage as you can up front and then, minimize loss. Yeah. With like trying to stay positive and like tell yourself that you are really good at riding, even if it doesn't feel good. You got to be a bit realistic about, what you are and aren't so strong at. So
yeah, where are your strengths?
I'd say just the overall fitness. I come from XC, and I still cling to that and like to think that I like to suffer, even though that was a bit ended before I graduated high school. But I think my tolerance for suffering is pretty high, and my tolerance for fear is kind of low. So I don't like to scare myself so much on, the really, really technical features and stuff like that. I'd rather be more cautious and just pedal my way out of things. So
I understand all of that. That makes perfect sense to me.
yeah.
Elly Hoskin, you grew up in Squamish. It's a mountain biking paradise, but mountain biking wasn't your first athletic pursuit. You had a passion for a ball sport.
Yeah. Yeah. I grew up playing soccer. Still love soccer. Haven't played in a couple of years, but that was really where I was really sure that's what I was doing growing up.
So then how did you get from soccer to enduro?
Well, I have always mountain biked, and my parents put me in like triathlon and soccer were kind of like the two sports that I did from like maybe 2-3 years old. And triathlon kind of evolved into like, okay, road, okay, cross country, okay, let's just go trail riding with your friends. Okay, maybe race downhill because that's what we had after COVID. And then I kind of landed in enduro. And as I kind of grew in soccer, I was playing in clubs like further and further away into Vancouver and Burnaby. And it just kind of got to the point in like later in high school where I was like, I don't really enjoy this as much. Like I'm no longer playing with my friends. It felt very, it just wasn't for me anymore. And I wanted to do more adventure sports and be outside. And I felt like the girls that I was surrounding myself with, 4 or 5 days a week in the soccer field were just like, it was hard to connect at that point. And so I just kind of leaned into biking. And
your high school had a a mountain bike program, a cycling academy or something?
Cycling Academy, yeah. I don't know if they still have it, or it definitely doesn't look the same as it used to. So I keep in touch. My mom's actually a teacher at my high school and runs the bike team there now, which is awesome. And so, yeah, I get to come in and help with them once in a while, which is great. But yeah, I had a cycling academy. So we had after school once a week, we met to go biking, or, in the winter we'd train in the gym or something. And we got 4 credits for it, which is pretty awesome. And that's kind of where I got kind of out of my cross country roots. And I was like, oh, I met some people who race downhill, and I met some really awesome people who just ride big, crazy features, and were like, you should try to keep up. And I was like, okay, I'm scared. And they got me into it. So yeah, I feel like that's kind of where my origin story really started.
Now, your local trails, what do they do for a rider who is going to go race abroad? And what can't these trails help the same rider with? Do you know what I mean? Like, what are they good prep for, and what are they maybe possibly lacking when you're heading, say to Europe to race?
Oh man, I think we just have so much variety here. Like, you drive an hour in any direction and you get different dirt, you get different rock, and it's pretty awesome how deep our trail systems are. Like, I mean, we got big mountains, you can pedal all day, never touch the same trail. I think that's huge. Lots of really awesome technical stuff, but it's typically the trails, at least in Squamish, are pretty slow and janky, and especially on the shore. So we don't really get that kind of like high speed alpine just hooning like you do in Europe. But, on the flip, Europe doesn't really have backcountry the same way that we do. So I think the one thing that I wasn't really prepared for in Europe was the clay, and how awful the clay is, specifically in France. When it gets wet. And one of the first times I experienced it, I just remember walking my bike down this entire trail, and I had to cry. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to race this. But then you race it, and everyone's sliding on their butt down the trail, and it's kind of silly. You're like, oh, okay, so we're all professionals. Great. Yeah.
You're all professionals on a slip and slide.
Yeah. Hard for everyone. Yeah, that, and just like hiking trails that aren't built for biking. We're pretty spoiled here, where, just because we're a newer civilization, our trails are catered to recreating, not, trying to travel from one village to the next. You know what I mean? So,
right.
Yeah, we're pretty spoiled here.
I see. Although those are good comparisons. Can you tell me a bit more about the scene that helped you develop as a rider? I'm thinking you did some Island Cups. There were other enduro races over in BC. Over there, says the guy in Ontario. Yeah, just give me more of a picture of the scene.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think my first enduro was an Island Cup in Maple Mountain on Vancouver Island. And I did it on my XC bike with my mom, and that was pretty cool. There's some cool photos from that. And then we had an all women's enduro that used to run in Squamish called Hot on Your Heels. And I did that a few years, and that was super fun. Yeah, that's kind of where it started. And then in 2021, I think I did my first Canadian enduro, and we had our nationals in Whistler during an atmospheric river, and that was hilarious. I just remember like the feed station, everyone was just like full kit change, just stripping down to your underwear. Really, just everything was soaked, and that was super fun. And then I decided in 2022 that I wanted to do the full series, and I did, and that was really fun because that was also the first year I kind of landed on a team, and my local shop started an enduro team. And so I traveled to most of the races with the other 2 girls on the team. And yeah, we became best friends. And that was also the year I graduated. And I was just like, oh, wow, this is awesome. This is the way this is what you can just do. It felt unreal. And I was like, yeah, I want to do more of that.
How would you compare the health of BC or grassroots enduro, the enduro that's close to you, with the health of enduro at the UCI/pro level?
I think it's pretty comparable. I mean, obviously both are relying on an industry that's taken a big hit in the last couple of years. So it makes sense that there's been a bit of just like struggle from organizations to provide races. I'm really excited to see that the Canadian Enduros are back this year, and also cool because it's being run by a friend of mine. His my age, in his early 20s, and I feel like it's really great timing with just this kind of like generation change. I feel like a little bit. So we have like a young person running the Canadian Enduro Series. We have younger people coming up on the world circuit, and I think it's just gonna. I mean, you're not gonna kill enduro. So I think there's only up, really.
I was gonna get into the generational change that you've mentioned, because there's a lot of, or it seems like a lot, I don't want to overstate it, but there's some notable riders who have either retired or are stepping back from racing. I'm thinking Jesse Melamy,
Yeah.
ALN, Ed Masters, Jack Moore. How do you think that will shape the character of racing in the year to come, or in the season to come?
Yeah, I mean, obviously some really big shoes to fill, but where there's gaps, there's room for people to step up. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think what we'll probably feel a lot is the lack of, because they all did quite a bit of media and around the races with their YouTube and videos and stuff like that. And so I think, again, there will be, different people stepping up kind of into those roles. And I think it'll be really interesting. Yeah, sad, but with changes, renewal, and I'm looking forward to it.
On the topic of media, I'm reminded that I think this was in Bielsko-Biała, where you were willfully ignorant of your place in the standings. That's by design. You don't want to know how you're doing. But something was tipping you off. You got suddenly suspicious when cameras started coming up to you and people were asking you questions. Do you think now that you're world champion, are you going to be able to be willfully ignorant of your position in races?
No, I think I even felt it towards the end of the year, where you kind of just have to be more accepting of, your right to lack information is other people's right to have it as well. So, you can't stop people from telling you. And yeah, it feels kind of good. You're like, oh, yay, they're interviewing me. Yay, like something must be going well. And so you kind of just draw your own conclusions. And I think over time, you also know, like, I know what a winning stage feels like. And if I've accomplished that and I feel like that, if someone's gotten faster, I'm good on them. Like, that's all I had. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day if I know or not. Yeah, I think we're bringing it back to strategy. I think let a few stages go by and you don't know, and then I'll have someone usually tell me, you're looking at a podium, you're looking at a top 5, or they'll tell me, how many seconds I have behind or to the person behind me. And that's about all I need to know. I think that's enough to be like, okay, you really gotta turn it on, or, don't lose it. Stuff like that. So there's also like the chance that we get reseeded on the last stage. And in that case, it's really important to know, because, if you're sitting worlds, for example, I was sitting in second going into the last stage, and I had, I want to say, like 2 or 3 seconds to first and like 4 or 5 seconds to third. And I kind of made the conscious decision that I was like, a podium means more, or not podiuming means a lot more than not winning. So I was like, this is conservative. You're like, do not lose the podium. And in that, and the cards fall where they may. Like, all you can do is your best, and you let everyone else do the same.
I'm guessing you're going to face more media attention throughout the year with your rainbow jersey. It's just inevitable. Have you already planned that into your logistics?
I definitely thought about it. just like more how it's going to affect my mental, like on the days, like, and also, how I want to be perceived plays a lot in, racing as well. How I represent the people who, pay for me to be there. And, that's an opportunity for them as well. So I guess we'll have to see, but it is fun. I like the chat. So yeah, I don't really mind.
What kind of power or input do the riders have in the World Cup circuit? What kind of say do they have? How do they organize?
Yeah, I think last year was we took some really awesome steps, and Warner Brothers and UCI were listening quite a bit to what the riders had to say and the feedback that we were providing. And I think a lot of that helped because we were providing it in a very, official way. We got a union together and we elected people to, speak on behalf of the riders. And, they would talk to the WhatsApp group chat, give us a survey, fill it out, and then deliver that information to Warner Bros. And yeah, I think we've seen a lot of good come from that, and they're aware. It's just a big organizing body, so movement's slow.
Were there any successes that you're like, we did this, we made this positive change?
Yeah, I think, I mean, like 2-day racing came back. We had, revival of old, but, new to some venues. That was really great. Night racing wasn't really something we suggested, but it was great for media. So, we'll take it. And I think my favorite example was like in Poland on the last stage, we were waiting for our reseed, and we had like 30 minutes at the top before we were going to be allowed to go, and it started snowing, and we were all like just shivering, trying to stay warm, and we were like, can we please, like, everyone's here, can we please just go? And they were like, yeah, fine, let's go. And so, when you get everyone together, they listen. So we appreciate that.
Can you agitate to have the series make a Canadian stop? Like you raced the EWS stop in Whistler in 2022, and I'm thinking downhill has some new venues this year. South Korea, Whistler, how could I forget? And cross country has Utah and also South Korea. What do you think about the idea of new venues, or do you have any sense of how that discussion is going?
They are well aware that we want some new venues. That is pretty much any chance that we get. We're like, hey guys, new venues. Yeah, I mean, it'll come for sure, but I don't know when and I don't know where. So
why is it? This may seem like an obvious question, but like, why is it important to have new venues in enduro specifically?
I think it just gives different people the chance to see it. You kind of have to know what you're looking for if you're consuming content on the internet, at least for enduro. And it's not, so, if you're out going for a ride and you're like, why is this trail closed? And then you see Richie Rude riding it at Mach 10, you're like, oh, that looks sick. What is this? Like, that's probably going to get way more people on board than a cool reel.
Yeah, or wait, what's the series called? Grit and Glory? Isn't that winning people over?
I thought that they did a good job with that. It was cool to see them pour so much time into that. But I think, again, you kind of have to already be a bit of a core fan to appreciate what they're talking about. Even there's just nothing like a firsthand experience. And I think even having like open races where you get to, race alongside the pros and stuff is so huge. And we haven't had those at most venues, I don't think, last year. Yeah, I mean, that's how I got into it. I raced the 100 in Whistler, and that gave me points to go race Trophy of Nations when we had it, and that gave me points to race the series the following year. And I think we just need more opportunities for people to kind of get their foot in the door.
A change that happened last season was the removal of the under 21 category. Now, there's just junior and elite. This change happened just as you moved to elite, but have you noticed any effects from the loss of under 21?
Yeah, I think the junior fields were pretty small this year, and that's to be expected when you remove the top, 2-3 years of the category. I feel really lucky on a few occasions with like the timing of when I qualified was the last year of EWS when we had the 100s, and then I've just been qualified, and then when U21 changed to junior, I was turning 21 anyway, so I feel like I've been really lucky. Like I think about my last year in U21, and I wasn't ready to race elite yet, so I feel for the girls who didn't get the choice. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that the category will bounce back for juniors and grow again, but it, yeah, it definitely faltered a bit this year with numbers. We had so many in U21, some races, like at least 15 U21 women, and yeah, I think we were lucky to get more than 10 at a few this year.
What is the most misunderstood thing about enduro?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I think probably that it's like a loose, like people are just like, oh yeah, we're going for a bike ride. It's actually like the training and preparation that like my peers and I do is massive, and it is dialed, and we're doing everything we can to be the best athletes that we can, and yeah, I feel like enduro kind of it is this big adventure sport, that's the charm, and it'll never lose that, and it is quite the spirit of enduro is pretty loose, but I think we're kind of embracing that, and then also pushing to have it be taken seriously as well, because like the margins are tight and the field is deep, and yeah, if you're not showing up prepared, you're not going to make it.
I find that really interesting because I remember when the EWS started, a lot of the sort of chatter around it was like, oh, it's kind of like what you do anyway. It's the authentic style of mountain biking, race, moseying on up to the top and then ripping it down. And so it's funny how that persists, and then you find yourself kind of challenging it. It's like, no, I don't just mosey up, or maybe whatever. I do take this very seriously. This requires a lot of training.
Yeah, it's hard. Like it's hard for me because yeah, we're cruising up, but like to make that transfer time, you got to be fit. So, it's and not only do you want to just like make it to the top and not be cracked, is you want to be make it to the top and have energy for 6 more stages. But yeah, it's like, and we're sharing snacks and we're talking to each other and we're playing Would You Rather, and and we're hiking our bikes and we're doing it like efficiently. It's hard. Like it is this beautiful balance. I think it's really great, and at the same time, it is like the most relevant to what the average person would do, like on a weekend. They're pushing their bike with their friends, having a snack at the top, and then dropping in for like a top to bottom lap. Like, I mean, I don't know how many people are going for like 6 of those on a Saturday, but I sure enjoy it. And from like a marketing perspective, like that's the bike that most people would choose to buy, right? So I think in that sense, Enduro's kind of underutilized as a marketing tool, because those are the bikes that most people, if you're gonna have one bike, you probably want it to go up and down.
Has anything changed for you since you've become world champion?
Yes and no. I think any doubt that I had about my capacity for my training and my effort, it has been not like extinguished, but definitely put to rest a bit. Like I have a lot of trust that if I really don't think I need to do that extra set, I'm probably good. I think I've done 2 years now where I've been off my bike injured for a good chunk of the off season, and I think even just this year, just not being injured is gonna just be enough to just enjoy my training. And it's definitely a lot seeing world champ gear and paraphernalia. Even just like around my house, we have my world champ jerseys on the wall, and I'm like, wow, okay. There's not a day that goes by where I forget or am not like reminded by someone or something. And it's an honor at the same time, but it gets followed by, a desire to, prove myself and like keep growing and look to other things that I can do. Like, yeah, but at the same time, I'm so proud of it that, yeah. And, it may very well never happen again as much as I thought I would love it to. And I'm going to try my hardest to make it happen again. It's could not. So you gotta take it for everything that it is.
You've joked about needing a detergent sponsor to keep the white kit with the rainbows on it clean. How's that going? Have you been taking calls from Tide or Procter & Gamble?
No, but I definitely choose the days I wear my white pants wisely. That's for sure.
But you can't follow that old rule of no white only. What is it? Only after Easter. And not after Labor Day.
Yeah. No, it's going to be May through October this year.
On that note, what are some of the races that you are targeting? You're going to be doing the World Cup series, but what else might or are you thinking of looking at for your calendar?
Yeah, I think big goal this year would be the series overall. I've never done that before, so why not? World Champs is the last race of the season, of the World Cup season, so that'll be interesting. It's after our nationals as well, which is another race I'll be doing. Crankworx Whistler, I always love to do. Squamish Enduro, pretty awesome event that we have here locally. Going to Sea Otter for the first time, and then at the end of the year, end of October, I'm doing my first trans race, Trans Sierra Norte, which I'm so excited about. I rode in Mexico for the first time this past fall, and I was like, I got to figure out how to come back. So we put that on the calendar too.
Well, right on. Well, thank you very much for your time, Elly, and good luck. Good luck with the season.
Thank you so much. I hope we have a reason to chat again.
And that's the episode. It is written and edited by me, Matthew Piaro. I had help from Matt Hansen. Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
And James Bunga. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Also, I got to thank our MTB team, which includes Terry McCall, Colin Field, and Tara Nolan. Their work has greatly informed this episode. This episode of the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast is produced by Adam Killick. He does the music too. Also, thanks to Ontario Creates for its support. Gentlemen, is it cheating to tune into Milan-San Remo at 30 kilometers to go?
Yes, that's not dedicated. I want you watching it from the départ fictif, to the proper start. I want you there from the start. Be dedicated.
It depends on the day, but I think if you're not there from the start, you're missing out on a lot of relaxing rolling countryside. I feel like it's good all the way through.
Do your taxes or something, do something else. Ride the trainer.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like you have to be there for the journey with the riders, and then it makes those final kilometers just all the better. It hits better.
Exactly.
All right, everybody, get your receipts ready if you're doing your taxes. Figure out your chore schedule for Saturday, and enjoy Milan-San Remo. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please rate and review the show. Tell a friend. We love all comers here. And if you're managing to get out, ride safely. The weather's pretty fluky in March right about now. Ride safely, and we'll talk to you later.